It's the 21st of July 2014. We're looking at the William, Livingston and Matthew Penn report, which is titled Sunspots May Vanish by 2015, and it talks about the fact that they've been noticing increase in temperature by 45k per year, and at the same time the magnetic gauze has been decaying by 77 gauze per year as a result of that increase in surface heat on the sun surface, and that these trends suggest that few sunspots will be visible after 2015. But we know how sunspots directly affect climate. If we go back to the original 400-year sunspot cycle, we can see that when the sunspots drop back right down to zero, we was in fact in the 1650s in what was classified as a mini ice age. It was also known as the Maunder minimum. But if we just look at the graph that Livingston and Penn have given us, we can see around about when in 2000 or around smack on 2015 that this happens. You can see on the left the magnetic gauze strength, and on the bottom it's the date time part of the graph. I think I will, before I show you what I'm about to show you, just show you the trend over the last 400 years with regards to sunspot cycles. So here we are, 400 year sunspot observations. We can see around 1650 the little ice age occurred, we got the Maunder minimum, then sunspots started to pick up, so did the climate at that time as well, started to become warmer, and we then hit the Industrial Revolution. Now, that just blows out CO2 and global warming caused directly by man adding more CO2 to the atmosphere, because if that was the case, the Industrial Revolution was in 1760 and it was starting to warm up from the 1700s, so 60 years prior to the Industrial Revolution the climate started to heat up. So it was not, as is mainly spoken of by these climate experts, caused through carbon emissions being added to the atmosphere by, or at least from a time since the Industrial Revolution kicked off. But the thing is, this graph doesn't show you what's happening more recently, and I've got a better one than that which I want to bring to your attention, so we'll do just that. And here you can see the trend, and you can see the black line is rapidly dropping off over the last 3 solar cycles, which is 36 years, and you can see that the red line is 0 point, and I think the last date on there is 2013, so there's a couple of years left to go. But the important point is, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that there hasn't been any change in the last 36 years, so as the trends would predict in the data, there isn't likely to be any changes either. So that Matthew Penn's and Livingston's, the Livingston and Penn's report is holding up, and that means that they could be quite right. So what does that mean then? Well, it's quite clear that we could be going into another ice age, and that could start from 2015, and it's been taking place over the last 36 years, probably a lot longer than that. It could be to do with all of what's happening on the Earth with the geo-anomalies that are taking place. In short, you've had my explanation as to what has caused this. There hasn't just been changes on our sun, but there's been changes on every planet within our solar system, and I've said why I believe that that is the case, and it's a little bit difficult to prove. The only shred of evidence I've got to say with regards to what I've suggested that has caused these changes within our solar system is NASA revealing those 2 photos showing something exploding from the centre of the galaxy, and also admitted, NASA did admit that there was some sort of wave moving towards us, and that we would be submerging into that. So I suggested then that there could have been a few suns at the centre of our galaxy at some point in our history that have collided and exploded, because the closer you get to the centre, the more densely packed it is with these suns within the centre of our galaxy, and at some point they will come together, or they will be engulfed by the super bulge within the centre of the galaxy, and this will cause cosmic rays and particles to be emitted off when they explode like a supernova. And they may have well been detecting for some time now gamma particles that has been released in these explosions, and that might have been what they was talking about with this wave moving out. But nevertheless, if you add energy to anything, you're bound to notice it in some way or another. And I think what we've noticed is in the sun's increase in surface temperature, and that has been direct relationship to affecting the magnetic ability for sunspots to form. We've noticed this on the Earth as well, because over the last 100 years, and as time's been going more and more on, the magnetic pole, as we've seen, has appeared to be migrating. But from recent data gathered from Swarm mission, it has split the pole. So we've been tracking the centre of these two poles that are breaking away, and that, I believe, was caused by a direct relationship to core heating in the Earth, and that could explain why we're receiving more earthquakes in more frequency, greater magnitudes, and more volcanic eruptions, because this internal pressure has got to be escaping from somewhere at some point, and we're going to notice it on the weaker spots. And that is why the Ring of Fire is probably more active than what it ever has been. But I want to show you the last 6 months sunspots, and I want to show you what has happened at this present day with regards to those sunspots. And all I want you to do, guys, is bear in mind this graph, and bear in mind that report done by Livingston and Penn, right? Because it tells us that when we get no sunspots form, the climate drops in temperature. So just watch this. So guys, you see it for yourself. I think this graph is a little bit more optimistic than the other one, but then we're about here on the graph, and there's nothing to say that these sunspots won't drop, especially when we've just seen what's happened over the last 6 months, and especially what's just happened this month alone with regards to sunspots. At some point throughout this month that we're in right now, July, the sunspots have plummeted. Will they recover from this point on is anybody's guess, but we have seen a significant reduction at this point when we take into consideration the last 6 months solar cycle, of all part of solar cycle 24. So there you have it, guys. The 21 gun salute, I'm having a little play about with a few people. They know what the 21 gun salute means. They know what I'm getting at with that. I'm not being paranoid. I know for a fact the blocking of my videos around the world off the other channel was by design. I can only say is one of the main things that we covered there was sunspot cycles and numbers. There's a lot going on in the world. Most people would think it's far more important than this information here, but I think it's just as equally weighted, because all this, what we could be seeing take place with Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, most recently the Ukraine, Gaza, and Flight 17 could all be relevant to this in itself. But that's my theory on this anyhow, guys. I present the information, and I sometimes speculate, and some people are frightened to speculate, but I do speculate because I'm only human, and some people want to know what my opinion is on these subjects. So for now, I think Matthew Livingston or the Livingston and Penn report is holding up. We have seen dramatic changes this month with sunspot numbers. They're on the drop. From watching these videos what happens when sunspots drop. So does the temperature, and all I can say is I can't believe there is so much to draw your and capture your attention at this moment in time that it's not just myself, but it's other people that put the information out there don't really know where to put their time and effort in. I wouldn't have done this today if I hadn't of just out of curiosity checked Solarham and noticed that there was just one sunspot or one numbered region, and I thought, well, it was worth having a look back through the data to see when that changed, and that's why I've provided the video. Guys, there is a link down below for you to support the work that goes involved on this channel, and I don't know why, but for the last 3 weeks there has been absolutely no contributions whatsoever. I don't know why that is. The level of information never changes on this channel. It always remains the same, and if you can just help support it, it just enables it to go on. I'll be honest with you guys, it's encouraging when people support it. It enables a few extra pounds to be spent on a few extra things, and we can pick up the experiments that we've been doing with the quest, I suppose, for free energy. Like I say, I don't mind putting my name and my time and effort into such things, because no one knows for sure what is possible in this universe. If they say they do, then I'm pretty sure at some point in the future they're only setting themselves up to be proven otherwise. I can name lots of things that are science law, to just mention one. Ohm's law doesn't apply to certain things now. Now, how do you know if you're dealing with new concepts whether that is one of those things or not? So, there's just one example, guys, but you can see it from, the information gathered in this video. It's of reasonable quality. You can see I put an effort into it, and it's just nice when people, do acknowledge that. It's up to you. I don't ask you to, throw in chunks of money. You just put what you can afford. If it's a beer, then fine. Throw a beer into it. That's good enough for me. And it keeps things ticking on. I'm not going to take up any more of your time as usual, guys. I'm going to say, look, with all this crap that is going on in the world right now, it wouldn't be a bad thing to get some form of preparations. And as usual, guys, I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.